Welcome back, everyone. Let's begin with our first story tonight. The Institute of Directors Ghana is calling on President Akufo-Addo to make amendments to aspects of the Presidential Transition Act to allow board members and chief executives of key government businesses to stay in office after change of government. The Institute believes this will enhance good corporate governance practice in the public sector. President of the Institute, Roxanne Dogwega, made the call at the ongoing conference on corporate governance in Accra. Here's Ebenezer Sabute's report.
The 2019 Corporate Governance Conference focused on issues relating to the management of state and private institutions with a social impact on individuals. According to the Institute of Directors Ghana, the section in the Ghana Presidential Transition Act, which compels all boards of governance to dissolve due to the change in government, is not a good practice in corporate governance. President of the Institute of Directors, Roxanne Dogwega, in an interview, explains how critical an amendment to this section will be.
Succession planning. Our current transitional act doesn't make good succession planning. In fact, these acts indicates that upon the swearing in of the president, automatically all boards are dissolved. What it means is that it paralyzes everything, and it doesn't make governance of state-owned enterprises smooth. Good corporate governance practices encourages succession planning. So that is an appeal we're making to His Excellency the President, that there's a need to have a second look at that act.
Meanwhile, Mohammed Awal, who represented President Akufo-Addo, emphasized the need for small and medium-scale enterprises to adhere to corporate governance rules in order to sustain their businesses.
Across Africa, SMEs constitute about 92% of all businesses, but only few of them are able to transition beyond their founders. The SME sector contributes about 60% to GDP, but 75% or 85% of them do not survive their founders. And one key reason for that is poor corporate governance practices. One challenge I want to leave with this conference today is please try and fashion out how you can improve corporate governance practice among Ghanaian and African SMEs so that they can survive their founders, create jobs, and employ people. It's very important for us.
The conference brought together directors from across 19 African countries and members of the Institute of Directors Ghana.
Products exported from Ghana to the European Union may soon be rejected if they do not meet the standards of having components of recycled materials in them. This was made known by the ambassador of the European Union delegation to Ghana, Diana Akonia, during a seminar to discuss the opportunities for Ghana in the circular economy.
Circular economy is defined as an economic system aimed at minimizing waste and making the most of resources. It is a model which helps countries to efficiently manage waste. So far, the European Union is leading the pack with one of its goals to make plastics recyclable by 2030. For Ghana's goal of becoming a country beyond aid, a circular economy will be a step in the right direction. Head of the EU delegation in Ghana, Diana Akonia, charged entrepreneurs to harness the waste generated as good business ventures.
It is extremely important because it's good for them as a business. They will make more profit using waste, and it will be a necessity because soon, particularly if they want to export to European Union and to other developed countries, the consumers are going to ask for it. The consumers in Europe want to know more and more how a product is made. To have a component of waste recycling in a product is going to become a huge marketing advantage for any business that wants to embark in export, and I hope soon in Ghana consumers will start asking the same questions.
Also present at the seminar was the Deputy Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Patricia PJ. Speaking on the need for waste management, she assured that governments will soon enforce waste segregation with the introduction of new waste bins.
In Ghana, our waste composes of organic, and the larger portion of our waste is in organic waste, but we also have a certain percentage in plastic waste. And if we can ensure that we dispose of this waste appropriately by providing bins for all households, and therefore we can recover the entire waste that is generated within the system. It will be possible to turn it around and reuse it for circular purposes.
The circular economic model will also help Ghana achieve its drive towards industrialization. For Joy Business, Karen Dodu.
Let's turn to the oil and gas industry now, and Minister for Parliamentary Affairs Osei Mensah-Bonsu is warning there will soon be no funds for the running of GNPC's subsidiary ring Explorco. Explorco was set up in 2013 to lead the national oil company's investments into exploration of oil blocks. But the majority leader says the move was disingenuous as it was against the advice of Parliament. He says the continuous existence of the firm is not the best.
I even related to the motive for even creating the GNPC Explorco. Why? Because we as ourselves, I mean as a country, as Parliament, we have come to some agreement that no, the antecedents of GNPC, their overbearing posture and the effect on the national economy, the wastage that happened in the 80s, we're not going to encourage that again. So we said they were going to be regulators and not industry players. That's the law that we have fashioned. And now then they migrate outside to create another vehicle and say that they are going to fund it. When they themselves are fully funded by the state, what does it mean? A very disingenuous way of resurrecting their interests. So the motive for establishing Explorco itself should be questioned. But of course, we are out of that. And that's why we have zero rated it. And don't forget, as I reminded, in the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, we said to ourselves that 15 years after we started funding GNPC, because now they take about 40–45% of our national revenue, derived from petroleum. And we have said that 15 years from the creation of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, we're going to stop. Do you know that we are into our 10th year? 5 years from now, the nation is not going to fund them again. So if they are not going to fund them, where are you going to get money to fund the Explorco? And they are not in a position to borrow on account of their own money, on their own books.
Well, still in the oil and gas sector, this time we take you to Houston, Texas, where Ghana is seeking to court more investors in the oil and gas industry as it participates in this year's Offshore Technology Conference. This year's event, the 50th edition, is bringing together energy professionals to exchange ideas and opinions to advance scientific and technical knowledge for offshore resources and environmental matters. Energy Minister John Peter Mewu, who opened the Ghana Pavilion at the exhibition grounds, noted the occasion was an opportunity to showcase the potential of Ghana's oil and gas industry to the world.
Ghana, as you are aware, has brought in a very unique feature for this particular event this year. Ghana's participation in the conference this year is unique in that we are here with higher ambitions and optimism than ever. We are here as an upstream-dominated event, not only to tell the world about our flagship upstream industry, but also to create awareness about opportunities in the downstream industry also. I have the conviction that by the end of this conference, and before I get back to Ghana with my team, companies will come knocking on our doors for licenses permits to do business in the upstream. Talking about opportunities that are there in Ghana, Ghana has a lot of potential in terms of both reserve offshore and offshore. Currently, as a country, we have aggressively embarked on an onshore exploration activities. 2D seismic activities have been conducted, and we are in the process of migrating to 3D seismic activity. I can tell you for sure that Ghana, as an emerging oil and gas industry, is gradually migrating to mature provinces. As a country, we are very flexible in undertaking fiscal regimes that will enable companies not only to come and invest, but also to invest with some amount of return on investment.
Well, the delegation from Ghana at the Offshore Technology Conference includes government officials, traditional leaders, and some oil firms, including Tullow Ghana. The Energy Minister, John Peter Amewo, visited the stands of Tullow Ghana, where he interacted with the Executive Vice President, Kweku Aoche.
This year we produced 50 million barrels from 10, and currently we're producing around 170,000 barrels a day. And we thank you for your support and for your encouragement, and we look forward to continuing to work with you and the people of Ghana.
Thank you so much. There is no way when the history of Ghana is written in terms of oil discovery that anybody is going to forget about the name Tullow. We appreciate the good job you've done over the period. Because of your involvement in the upstream activities in Ghana, we've seen a lot of improvements, educational facilities, social infrastructure, and that is the extent of influence and benefit this is. You have demonstrated the future is still bright. Absolutely. And we are asking you to come along with us as we begin to invest in more developed areas, in the country.
And we'll bring you more from Houston, Texas in the coming days. Let's move on to other news now. And members of the Ghana Society of Physically Disabled, GSPD, are calling for enrollment of the chalk factory onto the One District, One Factory program to help revamp its operations. The factory once supplied up to 250,000 boxes of chalk to the Ghana Education Service until the business collapsed due to financial constraints. Karen Dodu has the rest of the story.
Behind me is what used to be one of Ghana's own local chalk manufacturing companies, which was manned by persons with disability. But unfortunately, about dozens of them have been rendered jobless because the factory was forced to shut down due to financial constraints and unavailability of space. Elvis Alipui is one of the about 20 persons with disability who were rendered jobless some 5 years ago when the Treasure Chalk factory shut down. The factory was under supervision of the Ghana Society of Physically Disabled, a non-governmental organization for persons with disability. The productions manager Elvis recalls how they produced for the Ghana Education Service until they began facing financial challenges.
Somebody will say the chalk is there, when you sell it later, you didn't get the money. Yes, it is true. We have a small space that we are operating when it comes to the chalk business. And in fact, our dry space is very small. So anytime our small warehouse gets full up, the work had to stop. So in that 2 years, the chalk is in the warehouse. Nothing going on really too much in terms of production. But the 19 workers have to be paid. So all this has reduced the capacity of the factory already before we start getting the contract with GS.
All that's left of the factory is the worn-out wooden structure, now a residence, and some old machines which have virtually become homes to pets. All efforts to acquire a new piece of land have proven futile as management could not pull through the cost of registration. Government recently presented 2 billion cedis to 1,000 women with disability to support their business. Elvis lauded the move by government and added that extending a One District, One Factory program to the chalk factory will be a plus.
We don't want to beg, we don't want to plead, because we need not to beg before we get our daily bread or our work done from our own father. So we are calling on him quickly. I know when you hear this, he's a fast guy. He will factor this fast into his initiative. What we are looking for is One District, One Factory. And I know he can do it more than that.
Here is the raw material for chalk production, gypsum, all gone to waste because the company has been forced to shut down due to the lack of financial support. Now the GSPD, that's the Treasure Chalk factory, is calling on government support to help them revamp their productions so as to produce a job for some persons with disability. Reporting here from the Accra Rehabilitation Center, Karen Dodu for Joy Business.
Now, 4 out of 16 shortlisted bidders have advanced to the next stage to compete for the construction of the Ghana-Burkina Faso Railway Interconnection Project. The project, which is to be on a build, operate and transfer basis, is an idea of both countries to enhance mutual economic activity. Ebenezer Sabute's report. The Ghana-Burkina Faso Railway Interconnection Project is expected to begin within the first quarter of 2020, barring any unforeseen contingencies. The project, when completed, will link the two countries through the Ghana Eastern Corridor. Minister for Railways Development Joe Gate is optimistic the project will be a game-changer to enhance economic activities among the two nations. Speaking after the two countries officially opened bidding for the project in Accra, Mr. Gate announced that the Public Procurement Authority has given approval for the ministry to engage the investors.
And to engage a private sector investor or investors to develop the proposed railway connectivity project between the port of Tema and Ouagadougou on a build, operate and transfer basis. Development therefore went through the necessary public procurement processes and obtained approval from the Public Procurement Authority to engage the services of a consortium made up of Messrs. Team Engineering SP of Italy and Vision Consort Limited of Ghana.
Mr. Gate also disclosed that an independent joint evaluation committee will commence evaluation process on the four shortlisted firms.
The terms of the reference for the joint evaluation committee is as follows. Conduct a detailed evaluation of the request for qualification documents received from the four firms. Make appropriate recommendations for the pre-qualification of the firms based on the minimum qualification requirements specified in the request for qualification. Submit an evaluation report within 2 days, ending 8th May 2019. Upon submission of the evaluation report by the Joint Evaluation Committee, the necessary approvals will be sought, and the next stage of the procurement process, that is the request for proposal stage, will be launched.
The firms are China Railway Construction Bridge Engineering Group, China Railway No. 10 Consortium, African Global Development, and Frontline Consortium, a wholly owned Ghanaian investment firm. You're watching Business Live. Now, the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry has reiterated the need for Ghana to leverage its membership in the African Union to enhance its natural resource trade. President of the Chamber, Nana Dr. Apeje Dankwaso I, believes traditional leaders can harness their culture to drive the necessary investors. He spoke to Prince Apia on the sidelines of the World Meets in Ghana Investors Forum held in Kumasi recently.
In the Chamber of Commerce perspective, as we have signed and ratified about 22 member states of African Union, there is the need for us to use that opportunity because it's about numbers. Ghana is only 27 million. West Africa is about 350 million. For the Africa, it's about 1.2 billion. And secondly, we have a lot of natural resources which have not been tapped. Those which have been tapped, it is also always sold at the raw state. We need to add value. So how do we do that? And I think that has prompted Otumfuo to see how best he can collaborate and support the agenda of the government of the day to make sure that we can use debates, we can use programs like this to bring more people who have the money and have the know-how, the technology, and the support, so that there could be some level of partnership to make sure we turn things around and make Ghana a prosperous nation.
We are moving on to talk about some forex matters, and the governor of the central bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, is reassuring the central bank will institute measures that would help deal with exchange rate fluctuations. Dr. Addison disclosed this to Joy Business. George Afe has the rest of the story.
The assurance follows calls for a fixed exchange rate for the various foreign currencies to deal with the challenge where rates have to change virtually every day. This because most businesses have argued that they just cannot plan as a result of this challenge. They argued that this has made it difficult for them to actually plan their operations. Joy Business understands the country's port officials have already started implementing these fixed exchange rates when it comes to tariffs charges for importers. But speaking to Joy Business, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, says the economy is not ready for such a policy measure.
We do not support the idea of a fixed exchange rate. I think the exchange rate, we are running a flexible exchange rate. system. There's a reason why we have, for administered prices, regular changes in order to account for developments in the market on a more frequent basis, so that if you are going through periods of misalignment, you don't get these losses accumulate over a very short period of time. So it's important that even when you have a formula-based price system, that you update that formula regularly in order to take account of the changes in the market.
For some, the latest stance of the governor of the Bank of Ghana would raise a lot of questions about the sustainability of what is currently happening at the port with respect to a decision by some officials to go ahead with a fixed exchange rate for dollars when it comes to imports.
Let's bring you some more news. And many giant telecommunication manufacturing firms have discovered Ghana as the entry point to the African market. This has led to the influx of distribution firms establishing their presence in the country with the sole aim of providing quality, affordable smartphones. Transient Ghana Limited, sole importer of Infinix phones, has taken the opportunity to introduce the new Infinix S4 onto the Ghana market, the latest of the Infinix series. According to the brand manager of Infinix, Charlie Cow, his outfit seeks to provide quality but affordable smartphones for the unserved population. Joy Business's Bismarck Awusa was at the launch and now reports.
A 2018 report on the Ghanaian mobile sector has indicated that the country is one of Africa's largest mobile markets in the world. According to a report published by Africa's leading e-commerce company, Jumia, Ghana boasts of about 34.6 million subscribers and a penetration rate of 119%, while about 10 million, nearly one-third of the country's population, are active internet users. The Infinix S4 is yet another cutting-edge technology from the giant phone-producing company, which seeks to support the growth of Ghana's socio-economic market. Charlie Kayo is the brand manager of Infinix in Ghana.
The online like Jumia and the operator like MTN, our channels now is good enough. And so we need to bring in more products, more good products, and to increase the sales. At the same time, we will combine the requirements of the local people, of Ghana people, and we try our best to meet their requirements and then improve our product.
Infinix trainer Patricia Mensah had this to say about the product's specifications.
This is a contrast between the front-end camera of S4 and other mobile devices. Infinix S4 bezel value is far ahead of other mobile devices. I think this one, you do not need anyone to tell you not to buy S4. This is one of the main things you have to look out for when buying an S4. Why buy other mobile devices once S4 is there?
Customers present at the event also got a rare opportunity to interact with the device for the very first time, with about 4 random winners taking the new sensation home. Bismarck Awusa's report for Joy Business.